It's kind of like a duck caught in a trap.
From Miss K's cooking
It's good, isn't it?
to Uncle Si's philosophy,
I just say, look, it's sheer insanity.
we duck the halls with TV's hottest stars
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, honey.
Well, welcome to the 700 Club. It's Christmas week, and today we're featuring America's favorite TV family, the Robertsons of Duck Dynasty.
To borrow a phrase from their Christmas CD, we're going to duck the halls with Phil, Miss Kay, Willie, Corey, and of course, everybody's favorite Uncle Si.
Well, before we get to my cousins, let's go over to the CBN newsroom for today's top stories.
Gordon, a powerful winter blast of snow and ice swept across much of the country this weekend from the Midwest to New England. The dangerous storm killing at least 9 people, knocking out electricity and delaying Christmas travel plans. Our Caitlin Burke has more.
From Maine to Michigan, hundreds of thousands of people are without power today after what's being called the worst ice storm to hit the region since 1998.
Just the ice going against each other, it sounds like a train going by.
I need gas and I can't get into my gas tank. It's frozen. My car is completely frozen.
It could be days before all the power's restored, which means families are worried they could be spending Christmas in the dark. Many travelers are worried about making it home for Christmas at all. Hundreds of flights have been canceled and thousands delayed as the massive storm system works its way across the country. Some parts of the country are experiencing heavy rain instead of snow and ice. In Ohio, an entire retirement home had to be evacuated because of flooding. Firefighters rescuing residents by raft.
It had got up to my walk that leads into my door.
I grabbed my grandmother, her dog, and my great cousin.
Meanwhile, for much of the East Coast, the weather's making very different headlines. Highs reaching the 70s and 80s only 2 days before Christmas.
December, this time of year, you never get to have a short sleeve day, and we're out here enjoying it. It's just great, beautiful.
Doesn't feel like Christmas to a point, but it's great for the golfers.
But those warm temperatures won't stick around. Today, they're expected to plunge 20 to 40 degrees from the southwest up to the northeast. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Tonight is a key deadline to sign up for Obamacare, but the new year could bring a big case of sticker shock when that health care coverage begins. Counselors say many first-time buyers are choosing the cheapest policies, but they come with the highest deductibles, and that means buyers are responsible for most of the initial cost of care. It's a significant problem, so significant Democratic Senator Joe Manchin addressed it in weekend interviews.
At the end of the day, if it's so much more expensive than what we anticipated, and if the coverage is not as good as what we've had, you've got a complete meltdown at that time. So this transitional year gives you a chance to adjust the products to the market and to see if the market will absorb and buy the product.
Meanwhile, the administration has announced another last-minute attempt to fix the Obamacare with a temporary hardship exemption. Now people whose plans have been canceled under the law have a chance to purchase a basic catastrophic plan and avoid the law's tax penalties. The Wall Street Journal says this latest exemption proves Obamacare is hurting Americans. The paper states it's an admission that rate shock is real and the mandate drives up costs well into hardship territory. Fan outrage has forced a national restaurant chain to reverse its decision to pull Duck Dynasty merchandise from its store shelves. Less than 48 hours after Cracker Barrel removed products featuring Duck Dynasty commander Phil Robertson, they're back on the shelves. Phone calls, email, and social media backlash from Cracker Barrel customers forced the reversal. The company released a statement saying, "When we made the decision to remove and evaluate certain Duck Dynasty items, we offended many of our loyal customers. Our intent was to avoid offending, but that's just what we've done. You flat out told us we were wrong. We listened." The A&E network suspended Phil Robertson after he called homosexuality a sin in an interview with GQ magazine. The network says it didn't want to disrespect its gay employees. On Fox News Sunday, former Republican presidential candidate Mike Huckabee says a double standard is at work.
Because I think it's come to a point in our culture where political correctness has made it so that if you want to take a point of view that is traditional, that holds to steadfast, old-fashioned, biblical, Christian values, which are also, by the way, values of traditional Judaism and even Islam, then somehow you're supposed to just shut up and keep that to yourself. But if you want to advocate for same-sex marriage, we're supposed to be very tolerant. I'm tolerant of people who have a position on that issue that is contrary to mine, but I'm not tolerant of the intolerance.
The Robertson family says it can't see going forward with the show without its patriarch. We'll be back with more of the 700 Club in just a moment. Stay with us.
Coming up, faith,
I don't think he's ready yet.
family,
I said, Miss Kay, we are rolling.
And I said, we're going to starve to death. That's what I said.
and ducks. The stars of TV's hottest show. Up next.
A bunch of rednecks hunting ducks. There's hope for us all.
And then the boys were so glad.
Pat Boone here with some good news you can trust. Today, our faith, families, and our freedoms are under attack. Polls say 2 out of 3 Americans no longer trust government. A stalled economy, weakening dollar, and politicians willing to steal money from our children to waste on unfixable problems. So, whom can you trust? Well, our money still says in God we trust. But do we? Or have we quietly allowed the things we hold sacred to be stolen by the enemies of traditional values? Today, our government spends almost twice its income, running up a tab for future generations into the hundreds of trillions. How can you stop this from happening to your family? Well, it's all covered in a fantastic new book, The Great Withdrawal by Craig Smith and Dr. Lowell Ponte. Every American needs to read this book. Why don't you call now for a free copy of The Great Withdrawal? It's the simple truth you can trust.
Tomorrow, an incurable lung disease.
It's challenging, being a kid with CF.
A mother's prayers and a Christmas miracle.
I've been praying for this miracle for 15 years.
Then, the cookie cutter couple and their family tradition that's spreading nationwide.
We work at it all the time. Nothing is too big or too small.
Plus, a Christmas carol from Celtic Woman on tomorrow's 700 Club.
Meet the Robertson clan. They turned duck calls into a multi-million-dollar empire.
The shenanigans of the bearded Robertson men and their pretty wives as they run the family duck call business send viewers flocking to their televisions.
It was so fast we didn't have time to really pay attention to what was happening and how big it was, and I think you kind of get there and you're like, holy cow.
Willie and Corey run the business and were CBN's guests at this year's White House Correspondents' Dinner. Each episode of Duck Dynasty ends with the family praying and breaking bread together.
I think that's the most important thing about the show, and we absolutely love that the A&E kept that in the show and allowed people to see that part about our family, because at the end of the day it is all about sitting down and thanking God for your blessings. Hopefully it's a message to Hollywood that America wants more of that because of the reception that we've gotten. I mean, we hear it all over the place that they love that part of the show.
The Robertson family almost took a different path when Father Phil struggled with alcohol and caring for his young family.
He wasn't just away from the Lord, he was just horribly away, and so he did a bunch of horrible things that were just terrible. And for my mom to stick with him through all that was incredible.
At one point, while on a drinking binge, he told Miss Kay to take their children and leave. She did, but eventually Phil came back.
Yes! He really just went 100% for the Lord and started reading his Bible every day and wanted to teach and wanted to preach and really wanted to turn that around. And so it's very impactful for us as kids to see that type of change. That faith ended up being what was the best thing about our show, I think, was the faith that he brought. And so, instilled that in us, and then we instilled it in our families, and I think that's how it's supposed to work.
Here comes Willie. Here he goes.
Now it's hard for any of the Robertsons to go anywhere without being recognized. They say their godly values help keep them grounded. Their recipe for success is faith, family, and ducks, and people can't get enough of it. As for the beards and long hair,
I was telling Dad in the airport, I said, well, you know, whenever we get done with this, we can always just shave our beards and cut our hair, and we'll be able to walk through and no one know who you are. So we have that out.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
When Duck Dynasty first aired in 2012, producers wanted to tone down the family's faith.
Miss Kay, listen to this. I'm reading from 1 Corinthians chapter 7 about marriage.
But that's exactly what the audience wanted. The season 3 finale broke an A&E channel record with 9.6 million viewers.
Please welcome to the 700 Club the patriarch and the matriarch of the Duck Dynasty clan, Phil and Kay Robertson. It's great to have you both with us.
Nice to be here.
So are you kin to our Robertsons?
I was wondered about that. And they said, look, we all came from Scotland. So it's all the kin folks gathering up here today.
Yes.
The Robertsons have come back together up here in Virginia.
Many of the Robertsons like to duck hunt. So I have with me, Phil, a duck collar. Now, I have no clue. I am clueless how to use this. What do I do?
Well,
you turn it to the other
this
end
way.
to start.
This way. See, that's my problem. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm taking this end.
I'm looking at that particular model. Now look, we have all these different kinds of ducks. This is about like 6 different species of duck. And basically what all this comes down to is the control of your tongue.
Oh, dear.
Your tongue.
Okay.
So watch. What you're saying, this is the way you hold one. Hold it between your thumb and index finger like that. And so tongue control. Now look, so with a duck call, you're basically going 10, 10, 10. 10, 10,
Well,
10.
maybe. Let's see.
Try that.
Did you put your lips right up like?
Put it.
Okay.
Go ahead and where.
Okay, so that's the Wisconsin
Virginia has a
version,
long
all right?
way to go.
See, I think when a Southerner says 10, 10, 10, it's different than when a Northerner says 10, 10, 10.
I don't want you to hit your duck
noise.
call one more lick. Let me hear your duck call one more time because that was so thrilling to hear you learn how here.
Okay. Well,
that's kind of like a duck caught in a trap.
What can I'll work on it, Phil, for our next get together. So when you started designing these and when they came to you and said, we want to do a show about your family, did you have any idea it would become the top rated reality show on cable?
Oh, look, I said, let me get this right. A bunch of rednecks hunting ducks. I said, but you don't want to see any of them actually get shot. I said, do y'all really think this will work? And then they informed me, they said, well, Ozzy Osbourne made it. And I'm like, you know, there's hope for us all.
And then the boys were so glad to come back and say, Dad, were you right?
Yes, wow.
I didn't think it would work,
But tell them the rest of what you said. You said it would only work if...
What I said was, they said, Dad, what do you think? And I said, this won't work. However, I said, if God is behind it, it'll go all the way to the top. So I did have a little disclaimer. I said, now, if he's behind this, I said, no telling where to go.
So
I think that's what it's all about.
I think that's what it's all about, too.
Yeah.
What is it, do you think, that draws people to your family and to the values that you share?
I think it's what they tell me, because we go all over the country now, and they always say, y'all are so real. Yeah. We can relate to y'all. You seem so sincere, and you really are. And it's like somebody they can identify with. That's what they tell me.
And you have been very honest on air. You're certainly very honest in your book, Happy, Happy, Happy. You talk about, I mean, it hasn't always been sunshine and roses.
That's correct.
You guys have been married 50 years? Almost 50 years?
Yeah, and we had it was actually about 10 years that were really, really, really tough.
Very
times.
tough. How did that turn around for you?
My life was spiraling out of control in a hurry. You have to remember, we're talking the 60s here. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, just let her rip. So I finally came to my senses. Miss Kay was after me. She said, look, just sit down and listen.
Well,
just listen.
He started a little early. What he did was, he didn't tell you this part, because it is embarrassing. he put us out of the house, me and the 3 boys I had at the time, because he said we were too, again, I think he used the word, we were too goody-goody and holy roller and a few other things.
Because the Lord had started to work in your life at that point.
Oh, I had found the Lord by that time. It was about a year ahead of him.
She was converted first.
Kay, when that happened, when Phil said, you guys need to get out, you're too goody-goody, did you see God's hand at work at that point, or did you feel desperate? What were you feeling?
What kept me there, I think, for so long was the fact that I was raised more by my grandmother than my parents. And her words were always to me about, well, of course, she always talked about one man, one wife, or one life. And then she said, and you'll have to fight for your marriage. Well, I just thought, that's ridiculous, because number one, when I get married, it's going to be, we're going to live happily ever after.
We all think that, don't we?
Like the book says, all the books you read, they say that. And so it was like I finally found out what she was talking about. But she said, your marriage, no matter what you think or what people tell you, it's worth fighting for. And so, yeah, so I wanted to look in the sky and tell my grandmother at that point, okay, he kicked me out, I didn't leave.
Can I be done now?
Yeah. And with the separation time, it was really hard, but because I was a Christian then, and where I went is where we worship now, and I had so many people praying for his salvation.
You didn't really have a chance there, my friend.
So when he came that day to my work, and he hates for me to tell this, but it was the truth. He just came there, and I thought, well, he's come up here and he's drunk and passed out on the steering wheel because his head, but it wasn't. When he raised his head up and I opened the door, I didn't know if he was going to shoot me or, what would happen. But he looked up and he had big tears in his eyes, and he said, I can't eat, I can't sleep, I want my family back.
Yeah.
And, then I thought, oh, he's just like I want him. Yeah. But I knew, he said, I'm never going to drink again. And I said, you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
And I found myself being stronger because God was telling me, you got to stand up here.
As I read your book, Phil, I was thinking the person that you were before you knew Christ and the person that Miss Kay is describing is so different than you are today. I don't even know you well, but just watching you on your program, reading your book, you're a gentle man.
It's literally what Jesus said, from darkness to light. Yes. By the way, now Miss Kay, I said to Miss Kay now, when you're not going to run out on me one of these days, are you? And she said, Phil, she said, listen to my voice. She said, I stayed with you when you were mean and we were poor. She said, now you're kind and we're rich. Number one, rich is better, and I'm not going anywhere.
He loves to tell that. He loves to tell that story.
She said, well, I used to have to pay all the bills, But,
yeah, I was the one that had to worry about all that stuff,
But let me ask you this, because you have been in a place of need. God has blessed you mightily as you've given him glory over the years. But a lot of people who come to success really get off the beaten path. I mean, their lives change. They become managed and ruled by other people who don't share their values. How do you stay real in the middle of that?
Look, when you get right down to it, we're talking about the rarest of commodities when you come to Jesus. Peace of mind, all your sins removed, none of your future ones counted against you if you just trust God and try. And at the end, the resurrection of the dead. When you really look at it, you say, let's see, can fame or money top the resurrection of the bodies from the earth? I'm like, I don't think so. So it's the old, look at what's out there, our living hope, Jesus. And you say, you know what? Listen, I ran without Jesus for the first 28 years. And I've run with Jesus for the last 38. Trust me, the last 38 have been far better. Our first year down on the river, when I went down there, I had a clear head. When I was converted, I said, okay, here we go. So I said, let's see, I could teach school. Most people don't know this, but I earned a master's degree in Louisiana Tech in education. So I could have taught school, but I said, Miss Kay, find a place on the river. Yeah. And I said, I'm going to fish nets in the river, and I can beat teaching school as far as the money, just fishing on the river. And I said, and while I'm doing that, I said, you see this duck call? I said, there's not but one of them on this earth. I said, I'm going to patent this thing, and we'll go in the duck call business. Well, the first year in the duck call business, our gross sales was $8,000.
And tell my words.
I said, Miss Kay, we are rolling.
And I said, we're going to starve to death.
But she held the line and stayed the course, and it started out the next year was 13.5, and then it was like 22, the sales, and it was like 37. And look, today, millions.
No worries.
Millions. Yeah. So
doing something you love.
It was either a tremendous stroke of luck, or the Almighty said, I'll fill your barns up, tamp down and running over. So,
but here's what I think that tries to keep us on track is the fact that I've said all along, we never forget where we came from.
Amen.
And if something happened tomorrow with devastation, we went back to, the shaggy trailer that we lived in one time, it wouldn't matter. We would just be fine. But I worry more for the grandchildren. Yeah. Because we have teens now that are even asked to go out and speak like we do, that are on the road. And that's just,
Plus, they're now rich kids.
Yeah.
So,
You got to get them out in the boat, Phil.
I'm telling you. I'm looking at them, I'm thinking, oh no, they're acting like yuppies. Okay.
Well, we all love it. We love especially the time that your family gathers together at the end of each show and bows and prays. It's really a precious reminder of how families are raised in our country. It's given us a new insight into who God is in your life and the journey He's had you on. It's been a fascinating journey. You've only seen a little bit of it if you've watched the show. The book is called Happy, 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 My Life and Legacy as the Duck Commander. It's available wherever books are sold, and also we want to remind you to watch Duck Dynasty. That's on A&E. Just check your local listings for dates and times. Want to say also that your son, Alan, you said, is going to be joining you in the new season?
He's the one without whiskers.
Really? A Duck Dynasty guy without whiskers?
He got caught up in the old trap that the reason God gave males whiskers and he didn't give females. See, look, here's Miss Kay. There's your face, no whiskers. But He gave us whiskers, and what do? We turn around and scrape them off every day. I'm like, why would you do that?
What do you say about who's the only people that have?
Well, there are two kinds of people on planet Earth who do not have beards. That would be women and youth. I am neither.
Okay, your life is very entertaining with this guy.
The United States of America needs a big dose of manhood. Trust me.
Which might be one of the big draws of Duck Dynasty.
Geeky guys. I'm like, grow you some whiskers, son. Get out a little bit.
I think we're going to see a whole new revolution. We'll be back.
It's never a dull moment in my house.
I am sure that's true. Or you with him. That's why you make such a great couple.
Miss Sarah.
We're going to be back with more of the 700 Club right after this. Happy, happy, happy. Go get it. Thank you, guys. That's great.
Up next, Miss Kay's mac and cheese.
You dive in. It's good, isn't it? Delicious.
And her famous duck wraps.
People have eaten that before and absolutely thought they were eating a piece of steak. Really?
Duck Dynasty's matriarch shares the secrets of her redneck cuisine after this.
Cell phones are great, but the amount some companies charge is just crazy.
Since Connie and I switched to Consumer Cellular, we both get everything we want, and we're paying about half what we used to.
Do I have to buy the whole basket?
No.
Hey, you old cheapskate.
Hey, Jack. Why pay for more than you need, right?
That's why I keep telling you. Consumer Cellular plans start at just $10 a month.
And I'm finally ready. My contract's up.
Oh, here's to the end of contracts.
Yeah.
Well, did you tell him how easy it is to switch?
Well, of course I told him. It's really easy to switch.
Consumer Cellular, simple plans with award-winning service and no contract. Start your 30-day risk-free trial today. Activation is free, a $35 value, and we'll ship it free. Or visit a Sears store today. And Consumer Cellular was selected as the exclusive wireless provider for AARP members. Ask about your special discounts.
Call 1-800-460-7238. Go online to consumercellular.com or visit a Sears store today.
You got to learn all the secrets of the trade. The way to a man's heart's through his stomach. Boy, you making me hungry.
Well, Miss Kay, I have to tell you that I love your book, Miss Kay's Duck Commander Kitchen. And as I was looking through this book, I was looking at all these mouth-watering recipes, and I was like, I have to be a part of her family so I can eat like this every day.
Oh, well, you may not want to eat like this every day. I told somebody, they said, well, am I going to lose weight if I eat that? I said, most definitely not. But think about this. There's plenty of recipe books out there for people who want to lose weight. This is for special occasions and special times and good stuff and just Southern home cooking.
Southern home cooking. And you know what else really quick that I like about the book is that you showcase your family in it. You've got your grandkids in it. Phil is in it.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Without that, I wouldn't have wanted the cookbook. It's got to show who we are. Not just the food and not just the recipes.
It was
but
well
I
done.
love it because you just become part of our family by looking at it.
And I felt like I was.
Like people who see me, they said, I feel like I know you. And I said, maybe it's because I'm in your house every week in your living room. And one family said, and in my bedroom. I said, oh, it's no telling where we are.
So Miss Kay, tell us, what do we have here? What are you going to teach me how to cook?
I am going to teach you how to make homemade mac and cheese.
Ooh, I love macaroni and cheese. Okay.
I have the water boiling for the raw. I just used the large jumbo. I got jumbo.
Okay.
Yes, I did. But what you want to do in making your well, look, this is what you don't want to do. You don't want to turn one burner on and your pot's up here and it's back there, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to put the butter that we have to melt.
And is that a cup of butter or? So after you get your noodles boiling, and your butter is melting, what comes next?
That would be, we want to season and hand me that flour.
This is all-purpose flour?
That's the flour. Now this is really important because you want to get this mixed really good because you can't just, see that would just be a big fat blob mess. That looks like my first gravy I made, actually.
Are you your most creative self when you're cooking?
You know, everybody has a comfort zone. Phil's is that recliner over there, if you'd like to know.
Yeah.
Mine is in the kitchen cooking. I love it. I'm comfortable. I feel confident. I feel like I can do anything from this kitchen.
Now, Miss Kay, I've got a question for you. Do you use any low-fat ingredients?
I have before.
You have?
Yeah, that's what I was going to tell anybody. They can sub in things like that. That's fine. I just went with the old grandma type. That's the real thing. But yes, you can always put in the lighter versions.
Because some cooks would say that would be a sin to use anything low-fat.
Well, look, my grandmother would say that. Like me, to butter is butter. And it's going to change the taste if you go to margarine. But they have a lot of lighter butters now. You know what I'm talking about that you can use. Now, you've been trying all day to get that cheese
I
in
sure
here.
have. Can you tell us what type of cheese this is?
Monterey Jack.
Just Monterey Jack. And it's the shredded,
And look,
already shredded.
Well, okay, but here's the secret.
What's
if
the
Phil was doing this, he'd be grating the cheese off the, it's got to be old-timey, not. But I know a lot of women are working and they don't have time to grate their cheese. This is convenient.
And it melts just the same.
Yes, but if you've got a Phil in your house, then just get out the can and grate it and, be content or tell him to grate it. Okay, now here we go.
Now, let me ask you a question. It's interesting that you did not blend this through the noodles. You just laid it right on top.
That's what I do, but you can blend it if you'd like to do it.
Okay.
I've just always done it on top.
Okay. Put this in
Put
the
this
oven?
right in this oven.
How long are we going to cook it for?
And, you could do that for 10 minutes, according to how hot your oven is.
And then after it's all baked and gooey and cheesy,
you dive in.
We dive in.
You just dive in. You went for the middle and I went for the side.
You like more of the crunchy cheese.
Man. It's good, isn't it? Delicious.
Very good, Miss Kay.
Oh, they're some of my most all-time favorite thing is the duck wrap. So many people, I don't like duck, I don't like duck. Well, there's a lot of ways that maybe you would not like duck. But I'm gonna tell you something, don't judge that you don't like a duck till you try duck wrap. Because so much of that, people have eaten that before and absolutely thought they were eating a piece of steak.
Really? Well, I can't wait to try it. And I love the recipe in the cookbook. So you put a little bit of cream cheese inside of it?
A little bit or a lot. I personally like a lot. And the jalapeno pepper. The flavor is delicious. And then it tops it all off with the bacon.
With the bacon. And how long does
it has the charcoal, you know, the smoky flavor.
How long does it take to bake this?
Maybe 20 minutes. It
20
doesn't
minutes?
take long because that's just a little piece of meat. You know,
You want to try this?
Isn't that good?
Love it.
I had to take a little bite, but I'm telling you, I'm going back quickly.
All the textures and the flavors.
And doesn't it just top it all off with the... I don't know who discovered that really, but it is so good.
It does taste like a steak, Miss Kay.
No ducky flavor there. None.
None. Wow. Well, your family's so blessed and so spoiled.
I know that. And so happy, 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 right?
Happy, happy, happy.
Well, we know where all good things come from.
We do.
And hopefully we can just let that light keep shining through everything we do. Through our books, through our TV show, through our music, just everything.
Thank you, Miss Kay.
Thank you. You were the best. The very best.
Thank you.
Every week, millions tune in to watch A&E's hit reality series, Duck Dynasty, while the men and their beards get most of the attention. Miss Kay, the matriarch of the family, helps keep everyone grounded. I had a chance to sit down and talk with Miss Kay, who told me about growing up in Ida, Louisiana, her marriage to Phil, and her role in the early days of the Duck Commander dynasty.
I know one thing, I'd be rolling pie dough and answer Duck Commander, and I'd have a little pad with a pencil writing things down. My kids would come in from school and sit on the floor in front of the TV and line up duck call boxes and put the stickers on the duck call and then put them in the boxes. Something smell good?
Ooh, that would make a hound dog hug a kitty cat on a frosty morning.
You are on one of the highest rated reality TV series. Your popularity is growing. Why do you think that's happening?
God is blessing us, maybe because he knows we're gonna still talk about him.
Tell me about your life growing up. You started from some humble beginnings.
I did. I was a little bitty town of about 300 people out of Louisiana. Nobody's ever heard of it because when you go through, there's one red light. We're so proud of that light. My grandmother's house was just a place of comfort. I mean, I remember going in there, the kitchen always had pots cooking with the lids where I was bump, 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 bubbling, you know?
But she also said something very profound that you would carry with you for the rest of your life.
She said, one woman and one man for one life. And she said, divorce is not an option.
Phil and Kay met in high school. Phil was a quarterback, played baseball, and loved hunting. Kay was a cheerleader.
It was, for me, love at first sight. I don't know if Phil would say that or not, but I did see him and I thought, I like the way that looks. He worked in the oil field. He was a roughneck and his daddy was the driller.
Kay and Phil married. After Alan was born, Phil wasn't quite ready for the responsibility of being a father. Phil became a teacher. He also began drinking and running wild, and he had a violent temper.
I don't want anybody to stay through an abusive thing, and I had some abuse there, and so that was one thing.
Can you talk about the abuse?
It was only when he was drunk. The words were the worst, but I'm not saying that he ever didn't do anything physical, because there was a time when he drank some real moonshine, and he did do some physical abuse that time when he drank that.
Why didn't you just leave? At this point, you had gone through so much.
I guess I was a loyal person. When I made the vow to God, for better, for worse, till death do you part, I'm convinced that if I hadn't stayed with him, he would be dead.
The couple eventually had 2 more sons. Phil left teaching and started managing a bar. He continued drinking and seeing other women. Then one night, Phil came home drunk and accused Kay of cheating on him. For Kay, the abuse became unbearable.
I completely lost hope. And that night, as I was crying in that bathroom, in that trailer, I really thought about, I just want to go to sleep and not wake up. And I actually looked at the medicine cabinet and thinking if I had something I could just take to go to sleep and not wake up. And then the next thing that happens is I heard those little slippers coming, and I could hear them sliding on the floor. And it was Alan, and it was Jason, and then Willie Jess. Alan said, Mom, don't cry anymore. He said, God's gonna take care of us. And it was like, all of a sudden, I thought, those 3 little souls, and that's what they were, what would happen? If something happened to me, what would happen to them? I would leave them with a drunk, you know? I mean, it was like a light. You turned on the light. I just said, God, help me. Just help me.
The next day, Kay went to a pastor.
He said to me, of all things was, Kay, do you think if you died right now that you'd go to heaven? And I said, by all means, I would fly there. I said, because I've lived with this drunk husband, and then it's 10 years, and my grandmother told me to fight for my marriage. I should have earned my way to heaven. That's what I told him. And then he said, well, do you have peace? Do you have this? Do you have that? And I was like, now that's the problem. I don't have any of that stuff. When he told me the gospel, shared the gospel with me, then I realized I can't earn my way to heaven. Only Jesus did that. He earned it for me. I have to go through him. But you know what? When I did put my faith in him, and I did confess him as my Lord and Savior, and then I was baptized, I knew then that I had help, that he was living in me.
Kay shared her new faith with Phil. He called her a holy roller and kicked her and their 3 sons out of their home. Kay moved into an apartment, but instead of being angry, she believed God for the best.
What I did, this is more important than any lesson you'll ever learn. I told my kids, your dad has a good heart, but the devil is controlling him right now. The devil is living inside. One day I told my boys, I said, the devil be gone. I said, but for now, don't hate your dad. You hate the devil. My kids and I prayed for their dad to find Jesus.
3 months later, Kay was at work when she saw Phil in the parking lot, sitting inside his truck.
Just big tears were rolling down his eyes. And he said, I can't eat, I can't sleep. I've got to have my family back. I won't drink anymore. I'm through. And I said, Phil, you said that before. You said that several times before. I said, you can't do it by yourself. You need somebody. And he said, are you talking about God? And I said, yes. And he said, I don't know how to find him.
Kay introduced Phil to her pastor, and the 2 men talked for several hours. The next day, Phil, then 28, went to church where he gave his life to God and was baptized. Kay and the boys were there when it happened.
And you know what? Those little boys were so happy, and I looked, and those tears, and I was crying. It was the beginning of the new life, the new Phil.
Shortly afterward, Phil and Kay had their 4th son. Phil began going to church, teaching Bible studies, and even Sunday school. He told everyone he met about the Savior who gave him a second chance. Decades later, his son Jace talked about how God used Phil to lead hundreds to Christ. Then, he talked about his mom and just how special she is to their family.
He said, now I want to tell you something. You wouldn't have had any of that, nothing, if it hadn't been for my mom. Nothing. You wouldn't know about Jesus right now. But it was my mom's courage to stay with a hard marriage. and that stand by that commitment. So she's my first most courageous person. Isn't that good? Now see, I made it this whole time and didn't cry, but you know, it was so true. I know it was, but God pulled me through. And a grandmother.
In 2013, on the day of Kay's and Phil's 48-year anniversary, their sons and daughters-in-laws threw them a surprise wedding vow renewal.
From the time I was 14 years old, I loved you. I loved you when we were poor and you were not so nice. Now you're really nice and kind. And all I can say about that is, I'm not going anywhere.
That's good to know.
I will love you forever.
You are my best friend, and I love you dearly, and I'm going to be with you for the long haul until they put me in the ground. Good?
Perfect. He is my hero. He always refers to me as his best buddy, but it's like we're just together.
Now, what is the one thing that you want people to know about you?
You know, it's so funny because when we were asked to speak one time, the preacher told me, he said, you know what I think about when I see you? And I said, what? And he said, you stand by your man. And he said, through everything, you stood by your man. You told God you would, and you did. So maybe that's it.
You did. And now look at the fruit of it.
I know.
Your children, their wives, your grandchildren. What a legacy.
Well, I had told God and I told my family, if we ever forget where we came from, I pray we lose it all. We just go right back to where we belong if we're gonna lose it, because you don't want to sit here and think this is our life from now on. It may or may not be how long, I don't know. But I want to be able to go right back and not miss a beat. I want that for my kids.
I could go hours and hours on live television doing my job at a very high level and then go home and collapse. And I was in New York City, and I really was trying to drink myself to death. I was so depressed I couldn't eat, I couldn't keep food down. I just did not want to go on. And they took me to the hospital, and I still wanted to die. I asked God to let me die. I hear a voice in my spirit that says, no, I want you to live. And that was the moment I really realized, okay, I have to make a choice. Do I live, and how do I live? As I've begun to give my testimony, people have shared with me their own struggles. And I can tell you, I'm not the only person who ever sat on a couch watching the 700 Club with a bottle of vodka in my hand praying with Pat. There are a bunch of us out there. It just took us a long time to get to the right place.
Still ahead.
Now, what you see is what you get, okay?
Everybody's favorite Uncle Si.
There is not but one master blaster, and that'd be yours truly.
Duck Dynasty's most lovable redneck analyzes his own appeal.
I just say, look, it's sheer insanity.
A lesson in psychology is coming up.
In 2008, my husband Gary departed for heaven. I was still grieving. And then to find out I had cancer, I began praying, God, how do I do this? Where do I do this? Cancer Treatment Centers of America was the place. Dr. Neelam outlined a plan that would take care of my mind and my body, and she prayed with me.
For Bible-believing Christians, we're able to pray with them in a much deeper way as they begin to really rely upon their faith.
At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we believe in the power of faith and prayer as indispensable allies in the fight against complex and advanced stage cancer.
I'm back in Telluride on the mountain skiing. I feel strong and healthy.
Advanced medicine and technology.
And I am a survivor.
The warm embrace of the Spirit and the power of prayer.
These are happy tears.
Please go to cancercenter.com/faith. Appointments available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
And welcome back to the 700 Club. A federal judge has granted relief to almost 200 evangelical ministries struggling under the Obamacare abortion coverage mandate. Their cases are still proceeding through the courts, but the ruling comes just before a January deadline that would have forced the ministries to abandon their beliefs about the sanctity of life or face crippling fines. The lawsuit includes religious organizations that provide health care coverage benefits through the Southern Baptist Convention's Guidestone financial resources. The Beckett Fund for Religious Liberty calls it a huge win for religious freedom. CBN's Orphans Promise helped to fund this year's Day of Prayer for Orphans in Ukraine, uniting millions of believers from more than 20,000 churches across the nation. The event included church services in different cities. Government officials and clergy came together with the common goals to give each orphan an opportunity to be part of a family and to know the love of God. Orphans Promise also helped to distribute Bibles to more than 6,000 orphans. And you can find out more about what CBN is doing around the world by logging on to cbn.com/international. We'll be back with more of the 700 Club coming up right after this.
Are you one of the millions of people living with bladder control problems and on Medicaid? Then stay tuned for a free offer from ActiveStyle.
Hello. At ActiveStyle, we understand your needs and offer convenient, discreet home delivery of a variety of incontinence products. And they may be available at no cost to you if you're Medicaid eligible. When you call us, a personal incontinence consultant, someone like me, will help you find the right product that is both comfortable and makes you feel secure. If the fit is not right, we'll send different products until you are completely satisfied. That's our Get It Right guarantee. Your privacy is assured. Our incontinence products arrive direct to your door in discreet boxes, so no more embarrassing trips to the store. If you or someone you know is incontinent, call us now. And if you're Medicaid eligible, we'll send you a free sample.
If you're on Medicaid, call for your free sample. ActiveStyle is the most convenient and discreet way to get your incontinence supplies.
Call 1-866-482-0693.
Walls separate people, Jose. Just like the high rates that phone companies charge you when you call internationally. So we're breaking these borders down.
So people can call Mexico as much as they want.
Mexico!
India! Brazil! China!
Over 50 countries.
Why not 60?
Now you're just talking crazy. Crazy generous.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
There's still time to give a year-end tax-deductible gift that will help others. Thank you, CBN partners.
Well, we hope you're enjoying this holiday edition of the 700 Club. We'll have more features with Duck Dynasty's Robertson clan in just a moment. Right now, if you're one of the many Americans who itemizes on your tax returns, you still have time to save on your taxes for 2013. When you give to CBN, your gift is tax deductible. That means while you're helping change lives here in America and around the world, you'll also be saving money on your tax bill. So please take advantage of year-end tax savings and give generously so that others can have food, clothing, medical help, and so much more. You'll be a blessing and you'll be blessed as well. Just call 1-800-759-0700 or log on to cbn.com. And now, the Robertson we've all been waiting to see. Here is Uncle Cy.
Hi. With Cy Robertson, one thing is clear.
You know, what you see is what you get, okay?
When Duck Dynasty began, Uncle Cy was only slated to appear occasionally, but that soon changed.
There is not but one master blaster, and that'd be yours truly.
Now, at 65 years old, he's finally discovered his gift, making people laugh.
I look in the mirror every morning, okay? What is going on here? You know? I just say, look, it's sheer insanity.
Millions of Americans like what they see, and now they can learn more about the man behind the stories in his new book, Psychology, Tales and wisdom from Duck Dynasty's favorite uncle.
One of my favorite stories in the book is you telling about the time your shoes caught on fire.
These stories are 95% true, okay, which is true, okay? And the 5%, okay, I throw in to make the story better or spice it up, so to speak, okay? And look, the story about the shoes and all that is true, okay, but 5% of it. And I'll leave that up to the reader, what the 5% is that's not true.
He's so loved by his fans, he often gets marriage proposals from women who think he's single.
Hearts are going to be breaking when they read this book and women learn that you have a wife of 43 years, you have 2 beautiful children, and 8 grandchildren.
And look, those 2 beautiful children, according to the doctors, are what we call miracle babies, okay, since she's not supposed to be able to have kids.
His wife, Christine, knew she couldn't have children and at first resisted Cy's marriage proposals.
She said, yeah, but you're not listening. I've had numerous doctors tell me I cannot have children. And I said, look, doctors are fine when you need them. I said, but they ain't they don't have all the answers. Right. And I said, and I know somebody that does have all the answers. And it's not that I proved the doctors wrong, okay? It just strengthens me in my faith in what I believe, okay?
In his book, Cy thanks his parents for introducing him to Jesus Christ. Throughout his life, when his family faced situations that seemed hopeless, he says God always provided.
The last chapter in your book, you outline specifically what you believe and why you believe it. Why was it important for you to put all that detail about your Christian faith?
We get just daily, okay, someone called and said, well, hey, would y'all please say a prayer for my husband or for my brother, okay, that's got cancer, he's dying, And I look at that and I said, well, what do people do, okay, that don't have a relationship with God when they get some news like that?
On the show, we hear you tell a lot of funny stories about your time in Vietnam. But in the book, you also talk about being scared to death to go. While you were there, drinking heavily just so you could forget where you were.
Well, most people, okay, unless you've got a family member or a relative, okay, or some way connected to the military, okay, the general public hasn't got a clue, okay, of what the men and women that serve go through, okay, and then not only that, okay, but their families. Vets are close to my heart, okay, and it's not only because I served, okay, it's because of what they go through, okay. A lot of these people have gave their lives, a lot of them have gave their limbs, okay. That's mighty near like the Son of God, okay, that gave himself for us all, okay. That's a great sacrifice, okay, giving up life and limb, just for your freedom and my freedom. So they got a special spot in my heart, and I think they've actually got a special spot in God's heart.
Is that Tupperware glass that you carry around really the same glass that your mother sent you?
That's the one from Vietnam, okay.
It looks like brand new.
No, well, that was the old one, okay. They made them better back then, okay. And look, you only got that by invitation only, okay. You had to be invited to a Tupperware party.
Now that he's rich and famous, Cy says he doesn't feel a bit different. He's still happiest at home with his wife or on the Robertson hunting land with his brother Phil.
You got the love of God, you got the love of the family, okay? What else do you need?
Why do you think Duck Dynasty is so amazingly popular?
We are the rags to riches story, okay? The Robertsons are, okay? We had very humble beginnings. Everybody's trying to figure out what's behind it. And all the Robertsons said, hey, it's divine intervention. Me personally, okay, God's going to take Duck Dynasty where he wants it to go, okay, and to the people that he wants it to go to.
And if you've ever wondered if God has a sense of humor, Uncle Cy says, wonder no more.
He took what's on that 18-wheeler and made them TV stars. Oh, he's got a good sense of humor, okay?
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, West Monroe, Louisiana.
Now, Merry Christmas.
Up next.
Singing lessons 101. I'm teaching this guy how to.
Show me how the pros do it. A Ragin' Cajun Redneck Christmas.
Sometimes I can't get myself to stop. I know what you mean there, Phil.
Behind the scenes of the Robertsons' Duck the Hall's Christmas CD after this.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this special edition of the 700 Club. Thank you so much for joining us.
We leave you today with a sneak peek behind the scenes of the Robertsons' new Christmas CD, appropriately called Duck the Halls.
We're making joyful noises. Our wives and kids are singing. They're actually a little better than us.
Get the Ragin' Cajun Redneck Christmas dance and Santa out in the yard. Just drive on by, buddy, you can't miss us at the Ragin' Cajun Redneck Christmas.
Okay, I want to get Miss Kay in here.
Do we know
when
George
she
straight? Morning, Phil. How's it going there, buddy?
George is going to be the guest
he's
artist
the guest
on your
star
record.
on our album.
I sure do like those Christmas cookies, babe.
Now, Christmas cookies are a special treat.
Ooh.
The more she bakes, the more I eat. And sometimes I can't get myself to stop.
I know what you mean there, Phil.
Well, we're singing lessons 101. I'm teaching this guy how to.
Show me how the pros do it.
Diaphragm from the diaphragm.
Smooth, too, man.
Like Jesus and Santa Claus, we got love behind these beards. Wishing you a Merry Christmas and a happy, happy, happy New Year.
Can I hang an ornament in your beard, Willie?
You're just mad because you can't grow one.
It's coming in.
That's embarrassing to all men.
Oh, yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, honey.
Christmas, the wonderful time of year when we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, the light of the world. 700 Club partners, this is the perfect time to make your celebration complete by helping people who are in desperate need. Your special donation to CBN will provide gifts like food and warm clothing, life-giving water wells, and even livestock that will help support families all year long. Look for your special Light of the World prayer ornaments in the mail. Return one with your prayer request, then hang one ornament on your tree as a reminder of God's gift and our prayers for you. Share the light of God's love this season because so many others need your help, and send in your prayer requests so that we can pray for you. You'll be a blessing, and you'll be blessed as well.